Hey, amazing being and beings, since there will be more than one of you joining us today for another Free and Clear Fridays with Dr. Sarah, which is me, Dr. Sarah, and TGIF, right? Like, wow, what a week. You know, we could say that every week because there's plenty of things for us to acknowledge by this time in this space every time we meet, because it's been a week since we saw each other last. And you know, again, I will be on repeat to suggest and say that this reality definitely delivers so much stuff to us from which we can get clear of. So I am grateful for each of you showing up right now and in the future. How did I get to be so lucky? I wonder. So, wow. What is going on in your world? Yeah, I paused on that. Wow, because there's a lot there, isn't it? So this week's topic, which may fit with what just showed up, it may be different, but we'll see. So the topic of the week was and is boredom. Boredom. Now, there's more to boredom than meets the eye. You may be aware of a definition of what boredom is to you. It may look a certain way. We've been taught it to be a certain way. However, there are definitely different aspects of boredom and or ways to describe it, and it can show up in a lot of different ways. So before we jump into boredom, I was just going to say before I bored you with the topic, but comedic here. Let's destroy and uncreate all of the heavy around the even word boredom. So everything that is, right and wrong, good and bad, pun, pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And of course, in case you're new to this episode of the Free and Clear Fridays, and you're not familiar with the clearing tool, I will be including that in the IGTV episode of this live. So, yes, back to boredom. So, what are you aware of with boredom? How do you describe boredom to you? Now, one way to look at boredom is to just have nothing to do. It's just like you're bored. And there's an energy to that, like I'm being it right now, like, ugh. And that can be heavy, especially if you don't clear it. Because when you get stuck in boredom, and we're in that limitation, our mind would love to run with it and go into all the reasons why you may be bored or all the reasons you may not have anything to do. And then you could go head tripping into some heaviness. So everywhere, you have nothing to do, there's not anything going on, let's destroy and create all that type of boredom. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Whew, wow. Did you sense that energy? I certainly did. I felt it right here in my head. I tend to pick up on it with my body at times, and you'll notice that I'll just be freely expressing that on here and sharing where that may be showing up. And I wonder, where do you experience boredom? In this case, this type of boredom. Do you notice it in your body? Is it mostly in your brain, how your mind is thinking? When we do boredom in the body, it's kind of like, even when I started saying it, I'm like, It reminds me of back in the day, and I'm sure you can relate the, let's see, Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore, like, Eeyore, it's kind of Eeyore energy. So anything and everything this brings up, destroying and create it all. Right, wrong, good and bad, pon, pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. It's funny, just a side note, that the more I do these Free and Clear Fridays, it's evolving with all of you and just allowing things to come out even more just in humor and fun and play, along with everything else that's going on, probably with the Dr. Sarah stuff and podcast experiences and such, and what's going on in the world. So each time this show grows and evolves and comes in differently. And you'll notice I'm being something different every time. And I'm tapping into energies each time a little differently, even though some of the statements and phrasing is similar, it's very different each time. At least that's what I'm noticing. Okay, back to the topic. So, boredom. Okay, we cleared the one type of boredom. Now, and it's interesting because when I started being with this topic, all these different types of energies around boredom and describing boredom came up. So the second one that popped when I was putting this into form, actualizing this topic, was a lack of interest. So, a lack of interest. What is that? Well, where you're just like, things don't have like maybe meaning to you, or there's just this maybe when you're bored with what's going on in your life, like there's not that energy of maybe joy and ease. And the word lack there is really heavy because there's something missing. So everywhere you're bored of the lack of energy in your life, the lack of joy, the lack of everything that's heavy for you, equating to boredom. Let's destroy and uncreate all that now, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Wow, that was a really heavy one. Really heavy. So everywhere that is and everywhere that's heavy for you, where you have the lack, and then you go into the limitation of that, destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. We're going to get through all these boredoms, so I don't bore you, but let's get through them first, and then we'll jump back to ways to discover something else, or get clear on what it is you would like to create instead, but we're not quite there yet, so let's jump to the next one. So the other element or description, let's say, of boredom is really more about, it's kind of disinterest, but it can lead to sadness. So where there's just, it puts you in a heavy place where now you're sad. And now you've misidentified being bored with being sad. It's kind of an evolution to, if you don't clear the one we just talked about, it can evolve to this. So everywhere boredom has been misidentified as sadness, or has been evolved into sadness, or devolved probably, right? So let's destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Wow, that had another charge to it. Noticing it in the back of my head. Where are you noticing it? And where have you been bored in your life? Let's get there now. Let's go, go, go. And everywhere it has equated to sadness, or even doom and gloom. Let's destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Because when we go into disinterest in our lives, when we go into limitation, when we start going there and feeling that, it is not fun. It can really be heavy. That's where depression is, sadness, anxiety. It can live there. And boredom may be part of it. So everywhere you're bored, destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys beyond. So let's take a minute and tune in to something this week that's been heavy for you, a limitation for you, a heavy thought, feeling, or emotion. Everywhere you've been bored, everywhere you've been noticing someone else's boredom and disinterest and lack. Let's destroy and uncreate all that. Whew, wow. Right and wrong, good and bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And everything is coming up from that. Tune into that. What is that? Let's destroy and create everything that's beneath that, beneath the boredom, beneath the sadness, beneath the lack. Right and wrong, good and bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, we do tend to hit on this point each week, and that is how other people's energy impact us, how other people's way of being impact us, right? And boredom is a great example of how you can be in a limitation with someone else's lack of energy, lack of interest. Have you ever noticed that? And has something like that brought you down? And everywhere that you've been subject to someone else's boredom and now you're sad and have lack, or you feel bad for them. Oh, good Lord, let's destroy and uncreate all that now, please. Right, wrong, good and bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So I wonder, what else is possible here? If you could clear the energy of boredom, when you notice boredom, when it shows up in your world, when you have that lack, the disinterest, the sadness, and just ask, is this boredom? And everywhere I'm bored. Right, wrong, good, bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys, beyonds. Or the short version that you can use all the time, which is pon poc. Okay? Pon poc, pon poc, pon poc. You know the old one. Two that we've used on here, and oldie but goodie. It's really not old, it's good, new all the time, really. But return to sender with consciousness. Everywhere you're picking up someone else's energy. And a lot of times when we go into someone else's energy and we think it's ours, when it's not, that sticks us more than anything, because we think there's something going on with us, and because we're distracted by that, it tends to continue to recreate that and keep us stuck in someone else's energy. So just acknowledging, like, truth, is this even mine? Who does this belong to? Return to center of consciousness and pon poc everywhere it's not mine. Everywhere it is mine, pon poc. Everywhere it's not mine, pon poc. These are ways to use the tools outside of Free and Clear. Yes, you can use them outside of here, but I love you being here every week. How's it getting better? But you can use these tools like I do all of the time. There is no day that I don't go through my day using these tools and being the tools and living consciously. You know, it's just the way I be. And that's where I come to you and show you ways to be it, not just on this show, but for you to use all the time. And you'll notice, basically, I really don't know anything that doesn't match this. Any content I do and provide on social media through, Instagram, TikTok, through the new podcast show, easy for me to say, the Dr. Sarah Experience podcast show, I'm on there being it, being an invitation, being a space, welcome you in, and I'm so grateful that you're part of this with me anytime you show up. So I'm just letting you know, I am being it all the time, and I'm not just saying this to say it. I have no stake in the game in terms of trying to get you to get it or to follow or whatever. It's not how I roll. So, back to the topic. It's when we get bogged down by other people's energy and their boredom, it could be, a real game changer, and not in a light way. So everywhere you've taken on other people's boredom, everywhere you try to entertain them so they're not so bored, and then you drain you. We tend to do that too. So everything that is, let's destroy and create it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Wow. And it's always so fascinating how there's layers to everything we talk about each week. Like, there's what meets the eye at the beginning, then by the time we move into the show and towards the middle and even going towards the end, more comes up, more comes in. More is here for us to look at. So, what are you aware of now? What are you aware of in your life and living? Is there anything else that's been showing up in your life this week, or an area that's been ongoing heaviness? Let's tune into that again, and let's clear it. Are you open to clearing it? And you can just acknowledge that you are, and let's clear all that now. So everything that is, let's destroy and create it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Wow. Yes. Nothing boring about this, at least in my world. It's like, whoo, like, wow. Lots of energy around this. Very contrary to being bored. However, it's a heavy energy when we tap into it. So anything that hasn't allowed you to use and shift the energy of boredom into energy that you can create and generate with, Let's destroy and uncreate all that. Right and wrong, good and bad, pon poc, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. So basically what we're doing here is we're identifying what the boredom is. We're clearing it, creating space in your being, in your mind, actually clearing the mind so you have more space as the infinite being that you are to access choice, possibilities, to ask a question, and to be in the contribution of what you could be receiving. So now that we've been clearing this for a few minutes, I'm sure there's more for us to go into, but this is a way now that we can start accessing this energy to now use in a, let's even say, a productive way, in a way that you desire, in a way that will allow you to get things moving again. Because if we look at boredom, it's a stuck energy. It's a limiting energy. It's a stagnant energy. And what we're doing now is freeing up space to now bring in other possibilities to choose from. And then you can access you. So you can ask a question like, okay, so let's go with like the original definition of boredom of being like just having nothing to do. That's what that one was. It's having nothing to do. So what would I like to choose now? What would I like to do now? What reads light for me? I wonder. For me, I'm choosing to do this live with you. That's really fun and energetic. But a lot of times what I'll do is just check in with all the things that I'm in creationship with and be like, oh, which one would I like to choose here? And I'm aware of boredom doesn't show up for me in that traditional sense much anymore of having anything to do. If anything, I got 1,000 things going on simultaneously. Welcome to my world. However, I do notice it showing up at times with that one that we spoke about in the second example. And that is where it's more about like a lack, well, not actually a lack of interest. I take that back. For me, boredom would be like if I have so much going on and I have that pattern of boredom there, that in a way can keep me stuck because there's so much going on, it almost keeps me limited. So that's kind of how it shows up for me, that there's so much that I'm kind of in that space of the pattern of the overwhelm of that being consistently the same in my life. So kind of bored of that always needing to produce all the time. Sounds really weird, but that's kind of how it shows up for me. I don't have bored like I have nothing to do. Plenty to do. But it will show up in the routine of what I do every day, which is 1,000 things. Make sense? May need to put words to it. Live, in the moment, you got it, me being it, you know it. How's it get any better than that? So hopefully that example is one that you can relate to. So sometimes it's just that pattern of over and over and over again can be that boredom of that over and over again. So everywhere you've been bored with the same routine, Groundhog's Day, over and over again, work, home, life, and all these things just day to day, and not really living in the conscious way, destroying and create it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, pop, all night, shorts, boys, beyond. So once I get to that pattern, usually I clear it, boom, it keeps things moving again, and then it gives me choice again. Because that's usually what's happening is I have a lack of choice to choose something else. So for me, sometimes to break that routine up is to do something with a lack of doing. So it could be to just sit and relax, or it may be take a swim in the pool, or it may be, oh my gosh, what would I like to choose right now? Watch one of my favorite reality television shows, because yes, I do watch reality television shows because they're so good with providing human energy. And I like just sitting back and being like, oh, I just love watching humans because they're so much fun to watch. Not always be in the same, life and living with them, but that's okay, teach their own. Anyways, you can see this energy, especially as we've been together here, freeing up boredom. What can be there instead? There are possibilities. There are choices. There are questions we can ask. Nothing has to stay stuck for long. And that's one thing I would like you to take with you today, is to know anything really can be cleared. and changed. We just have to be sometimes open to receiving it. The word patience comes to mind. It's like patience, like we just have to hold space until certain things free up. And other times it's just a matter of just being in the awareness and the allowance and just being and you and question and choose what's right for you. So, what are you noticing now as we finish up this week's Free and Clear Fridays? I wonder what else is possible. And just in case you didn't know, I have started this new podcast show. It's every Wednesday. It launches on Wednesday, and it includes an audio version of the podcast show, and it's also a video version. It's content on screen that you get to see with me and the guests of the week. And the main theme of the podcast is featuring influencers, like here on Instagram, TikTok, amazing beings creating amazing things in the world, and the ones that you happen to love most likely. And if you're just new to certain ones, you'll get it exposed to these influencers in a way that really allows their truth and their way of being come out. Because guess what? They're sitting with me, and I go there with them, and I'm being it with them. So you can be guaranteed to discover something new about these amazing beings each time. So join us there. You can find that in my bio here on Instagram. You can click on it, Linktree, and then it takes you to the podcast, which is on my website, and it's also on YouTube, and just follow the link there. I will also include it in the link on this IGTV. All right, amazing beings. I adore you, I appreciate you, and I wonder what else is possible now. And everywhere we're, showing up, or when we're showing up, turning problems into possibilities, I've got your back. Always. Always, always, always. So go and be, and have an amazing week, and anything that comes up heavy, clear it, and join me here next week where we'll clear some more. All right, have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you soon.